Hey guys, welcome back. I got some good feedback from the lunchtime update, so I thought I would just do a end of the day update really quickly for you guys on XXII 22nd Century. So as expected, it did retest that 3 and closed right around there. It ended up at 297, which to me is not that bad. Like I said, I think it needs to build some support at the $3 range still, just after how much green we had for so long. But as you can see, the way that it got to $3 was not that bad. It was just a slow slope down, just doing basically what it had to do. As you can see here, the RSI it had to cool down. It was close to 80 here. We're on the 60-minute, by the way. It had to cool down, so it's almost back in the middle, and that's good. I think that it could ride in the middle very easily. As you can see, it did so for almost a whole month here a while back. So once it finds a good price, I think it'll settle, which it has found a good price. I think we may see around 290, 287 though, but we'll chart that closer in a second. But yeah, so the RSI actually, I like it again now. It's not so bad, at least here on the 60-minute. Let's quickly take a look at it on the daily. So, but as you can see on the daily, it's still a little hot, but on the 60-minute, not so bad. So it's probably going to cool down, like I said, a little bit more. This is just one indicator saying that on the daily. And the MACD, as you can see, it's leveling off as well. But let's go back to the 60-minute really quick. And if we look at the stochastic momentum, oh, we need our Chand buddy. Hold on. Okay. So if we look at our stochastic momentum and the Chand though, they are now in oversold territory on the 60-minute. So these don't usually last that long on this stock. As you can see, it only did a little bit over here, a little bit back on the 1st of September, and a little bit there. But it never really lasts more than a day and a half or two, or even sometimes less than a day, right? So I don't see us dipping so far below $3 before we get these start turn around and leveling off again. But I do see it going just a little bit further down. So if you're waiting to buy, maybe just wait another day or two just to see before it rejects this dip that it's currently going through, just to see what happens. And as you can see, the MACD also, it's cooling off as well. And the fast line is diverging further away from the slow line. I think that is going to continue a little bit just because everything else is also showing that trend. Let's look at the difference really quick on the daily. So as you can see on the daily, MACD is still super hot when it was leveling off. We just mentioned that a little earlier, but I just wanted you to see the difference between the two. And the stochastic momentum, again, it's heading into a sell signal here, because when this fast crosses under the slow, that's going to be a sell. We don't know how far it's going to dip under, but I definitely think it's going to, or at least they're going to be kissing and riding for a while. And the Chand as well, as you can see, pretty sharp decrease there with these last two bars. So again, just even on the daily and the 60-minute, we're just seeing a little bit more of a downtrend before we level off. And with that though, let's see if we can get another trend line going on. We know the $3 there. Let's do something a little further back here on the dip and go back up and see what kind of crossings we're getting, and if anything fits well really quick. Okay. So that fits pretty well, going through all of this here. As you can see, I'll zoom in some more. As you can see, we're hitting the top of this peak here. We're hitting all these little crossings as well. And then this is riding on top of it basically for a few days. So as we can see, we had that unnatural peak, looped back down to trend, but it wasn't so unnatural. It just was too far to support without having enough action in the zone, I think. And that's why we kind of filled the gap a little bit more again here. So that's why I also don't think it's going to dip as hard this time, because we did sort of refill it somewhat here. The only thing I'm worried about is this little zone right here, but since we were so steady before popping through, I don't think we need to retest it necessarily. I'm just keeping my eyes open. So as you can see though, we're heading close to this lower trend here, the 38.2% line. And I think honestly that we may touch it at some point tomorrow. Let me get my horizontal out. Now, if we look at, tomorrow's the 20th, if we look at opening, it does cross at 287. And that was actually my guess just a little bit earlier of what we might see as a low tomorrow. And I think if we're going to see it, we will see it kind of close to open if that happens. Let's go ahead and see the end of the day. So 3:30 here. Okay. So that honestly looks like a good range for me tomorrow of what will probably happen. Just based on this new trend and everything that we looked at, I think 287 to 294 is a fair judgment for tomorrow. I don't like that it's going down for you guys, but I don't want to lie and say that I think it's all going up after looking at all of that. If you're waiting to buy, maybe try to get high 280s. I don't think it's going to dip below 287 after it gets there. I see that as probably a pretty good reversal point. Worst case, if it just keeps going and going, I think it might retest this biggest dip here to 276, but I really don't see that happening just based on my gut feelings and everything we're looking at. So yeah, just keep an eye out for 287 to 294 tomorrow. If we're lucky, it'll try to pop back up and head back up here, but I don't necessarily see that happening. It needs to build some sort of new flat line, just a little bit of filling here before it can sustain another jump up. Because you got to think, you have people that bought way down here, you have people that bought way down here, and you have new buyers that chase and buy at these little peaks here, and they're going to want different prices. So you have a bunch of new buyers that want it to go higher and higher. You have some people that are satisfied and they're not going to be willing to sell for anything yet, or they may have already jumped out. So you got to take all of that into account. And I know you guys are waiting on news about the BAT deal and stuff as well. So you could have PR drop at any time, and that's going to change all of this. But just keep your eyes open. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a red day tomorrow. You may even actually close where we close where we closed today at 297 again. It may just go back and be flat. But just keep your eyes peeled, guys, and don't get too scared of this dip. Like I said, unless you start seeing something below 275, 276, unless you start seeing something crazy like that, I wouldn't be too worried in the short term. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. Have a good one.